Alright, so in this example, we are going to walk through how to place a multi-view drawing given an isometric view. And for this example, I'm using a old example out of a book. And so I will be posting a picture of the isometric image as well. But for starters, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, we want to make sure there's enough room for our views and they are nicely placed with enough space between each view. So let's start by choosing the rectangle tool. Let's come down here and let's turn the grid snap off. And we'll come down here and we'll just start a little ways away from 0. And I want a rectangle that is 4.7 in the X direction and 1.9 in the Y direction. And next I'm going to go ahead and repeat that command. And I'm going to go ahead and space out a rectangle to take the place of my right side view. So I want a rectangle 2.4 in the X direction. Oops, I need to put my @ symbol there. So 2.4 in the X direction and 1.9 in the Y direction. And lastly, I want to place a rectangle to take the place of our top view. So I want to go at 4.7 in the X direction and 2.4 in the Y direction. That will represent my 3 views. So next I want to space these apart. So I'm going to select my rectangle and I'm going to choose the move command by typing M and then enter. And then it wants a base point to start with. So I'm just going to pick a point and then I'm going to choose the @ telling it to move the object relative to the point that I picked. And then a nice starting point for a distance would be 1. And let's move that in the X direction, of course. So I want to go 0 for my X direction. And that gives us a 1-inch space between. It doesn't quite look like it's enough, so I'm going to move it again. And I'm going to move it at 1 in the 0 direction. That looks a little better. So let's go ahead and move our top view at 2 because we want them to be this equal distance. Oop. Start that over there. Move my base point at 2 in the 90 direction. Because remember, 0 takes us in the positive X direction. 90 would be straight up and down or at 12 o'clock. And that is the direction we want to move our top view. So enter. Now we have our 3 views spaced, and we have enough space because we're representing the object with a rectangle. The last thing we want to do to prepare for our views is we want to place a line, and we want to go ahead and use the apparent intersection And here we want to just choose one of our lines because we want to place our diagonal line here like this, but we want it to be at the intersection of this edge and this edge. So we choose one of those edges, and then we choose the other edge, and you notice it places a X where it's going to start our line at. Well, that's perfect because that is the intersection of where this line and this line would have been. Next, we draw a line relative to that point. We don't need to be too picky about how long this line is. We just want to make sure it's long enough. And then we want it to be 45 degrees. And that should be good enough. And in fact, that line is plenty long. Wouldn't have to be that long, but it's at least long enough. So now we're ready to begin drawing the object. And at this point, we can choose any of our views to start with to start carving out what this object actually looks like. So next, I'm going to go ahead and explode my rectangles, and that will allow me to use each of these lines for construction. So I'm going to start in the front view just for no other reason than I just chose to start in the front view. So next, I'm going to use the offset command, and I want this offset 1.2 or 1.12, and I'm going to choose my edge here, and I'm going to come over to 1.2. Next, I'm going to do that again, but this time I want 1.38 distance. That is going to represent the center of our circle. And we've got one more to do similar to this. Let's go 0.76 from this side, and that will represent the notch in the front view. Alright, so at this point we've got a little bit we can do. Let's go ahead and offset again, and we want 1.12, and this will allow us to offset the bottom up for our long top, or the main piece here. And then let's go ahead and start carving this out before we continue on. So then we go trim, and we can start carving this out by trimming out the stuff that we don't really need. I'm going to leave that there because we haven't used that yet. We're going to go ahead and trim this out. And oh, I went too far on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that because I need another line down here before I can trim that. So I'm going to offset and go 0.44, and that will get that bottom part of the notch. Now I can go ahead and trim this part here so that I can get that notch cut out, like so. Alright, whoops, I need to trim that because our top edge stops there and does not continue. Alright, Oh, let's go ahead and trim one more to there, that very top. Alright, so that gives us the main shape of our front view. So now let's go ahead and let's move to the top view, and we'll go ahead and use the same offset method to get us some edges inside that we can use to trim. So the first one is 0.5, and that is going to be from this edge in and this edge here in. Next, we have a 0.7 from this edge in and from this edge in. And that gives us our groove right through the middle right here. Alright. Now, 0.7 is also the width of our part in this section here. So at this point, I want to go ahead and I want to project some lines. So I'm going to turn my ortho on, and I'm going to project up from my front view these features that I've created down here in the front view. So now I can go ahead and I can start trimming some of these features. I'll go ahead and trim it to there as well. So I'll go ahead and trim that excess there. Trim that. And I can go ahead and trim back to there as well. Good. Okay. Now, looking at my isometric view here, to finish this part here, our shape comes in a little bit this way and then continues on. Well, that notch, like where it comes down, is 0.4 from the back side back here, or from the far left side. So let's go ahead and let's offset 0.4 from that side, and that gives us our trimming edge there. So now we can trim that. Let's go ahead and keep that one there too. And trim here, here, here. Kind of like this. Oop, there we go. Oh, undo that. Didn't trim too much, it looked like. So, there. Yep, there we go. And that needs to stay there, but that go away. And let's see, so we trim to there, and to there, this line, and then, oops, undo that. Let's take this one step at a time. Let's trim that, and then this part, and that starts to look okay. Oh, nope, I'm sorry. I need to there, to there. So now I'm going to trim that, and that. There, that looks better. Alright, so next I have from the very midpoint of this line here, I need a line that comes down this way, that the angle between this and this is 60 degrees, so I need a 30 degree in this direction. So if this is 180, but I need negative 30 degrees in this direction, I need 180 plus 30, so I need 210, if my math is correct. So I'm going to start here, and I just need to go some distance, whoops, relative, some distance, at an angle of 210. Another really nice command that I'd like to introduce at this point is the mirror command. I can mirror this line starting here. If I turn my ortho on, now it's going to be like so. Do I want to delete this erase the source objects? No, I do not. Now I just need to trim some more. Trim back to there. Trim my side angles there like so. And that completes that part. Very good. Alright, so now I'm going to draw another line, because now I have the edge of that feature there that I can bring back to my front view. Trim, top to bottom, and there's my edge. That can now go away, and we're getting closer. So let's go back to our front view, and we need to offset the bottom 0.56, and that gives us the center of our circle. So let's go ahead and draw a circle. The circle has a diameter of 0.5, so let's go ahead and choose the center diameter. And 0.5. Whoops, there we go. Now I can go ahead and get rid of those lines, and that gives me my circle. Now if I draw a line, go up here to quadrant, there we go. And while we're finishing up features in these two views, let's go ahead and bring this feature down, and we'll trim those lines and those lines, and trim these. There we go. Now in a moment we will go ahead and set the layer for these to be hidden lines here and here, so that they become hidden features. Now we've got one more feature that we need to set. Offset 0.4 for this surface right there from the top, just like so. And we're going to trim that to there, because that surface stops right there. And trim between here and this view, with the exception of the center line that we'll discuss at a later time, is good. This view, with the exception of changing these to hidden lines and the center mark here, which we'll discuss at a later time, this one's done. So now we just need to do our right view, and then we're done with this drawing as far as placing all the features, and then we'll come back and we will set these hidden lines and then place our center lines and center marks. So first let's go ahead and we will project the different features over that we need. Like so. We'll come back for our circle, but let's get our main part looking more like the part. Next we'll come over here and we'll get that section kind of like so. Let's go ahead and trim that part out. That's this here with these two. So we'll go ahead and trim the excess like that. And we'll go ahead and remove those lines now so they're not in our way. We then go ahead and project this notch like so, and then we trim the parts that we don't want. Whoops, need to grab more there. There we go. Trim that. And that gives us our notch. We got one more line that we know is at the midpoint here to the midpoint there to represent our nose of the piece right there. And then, whoops, I trimmed off the wrong direction of these lines. So I'll reverse those like so, and then trim to the top there. That looks better. Okay. Now we have this notch right here that we need to show. So let's go ahead and get rid of those. And we'll go ahead and project that line and that line from there down like so, and then we can trim this like that. That gets our main shape that we can see. Now we need to get our hidden lines. So features start there, and there, and go down to there. we're not going below this line because using the hierarchy of lines, we know that the object line is going to override the hidden line that these are going to become. So we'll trim starting there, like so. Get rid of those. Now these will become hidden lines later. And we've got 2 more hidden lines to show. And that is for the hole that goes through the part. Oops. Like so. And trim there. And those will become hidden lines as well when we get to that part. Alright. And that concludes this portion of this example. In the next example, we will set up our layers to include hidden lines and center lines so that we can place these hidden lines on the hidden line layer, and so we can draw our center lines and center marks and place them on the appropriate layer. Thanks for watching.